Hi, you guys, it's Amy Gretchen. Welcome back to another Project Life process video. In this video, I'm working with week 37, and this is in September of 2016. This week, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and instead of adding my text right to the photo on Photoshop like I normally do, I decided to cut some word strips. Now, it's funny, I thought it was actually going to save me time, and it actually ended up being way more time than what I thought. I feel like of all the layouts that I've been doing the last couple weeks, this has taken me the longest just because of those word strips. So I went ahead and cut them out. And then I'm going to move on to looking for a title page. And you've seen me do this multiple times. And I'm just going through and looking for obviously like colors that I might think would go good with the layout, or a 4x6 that I don't know, just would work with this layout. So for some reason, I seem to kind of struggle. And I think it's because, quite honestly, I did 4 spreads in one day, and this was the last spread that I did. So if you've noticed on some of my other layouts from like 36, 35, I'm wearing the same clothes. It's because it's the same day. And so this was the last one. I think I was just getting a little tired. And so I was having like a block, I guess. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to use. So I set that Pure Bliss card up there, and I'm just needed to do something different. So I'm going ahead and I'm cutting up my strips while I just let that card sit and let me figure out if it's something that I like there. And it turns out it's not something that I like there. You'll see that I end up doing a little bit more color. I do a blue, so it adds in a little bit more of the blues in the right hand page. So I'm cutting up the strips and I'm adding them to the photos. One of the things that you'll notice, I guess I fiddle a lot with the strips, and I think it's because I can't quite decide if there's too many. Like the white seemed really bold, and I felt like there just was so much white right on the layout, and so I couldn't figure out if I like that or not. So I do end up like not even using all of the text that I thought I would. And then even I cut it down a little bit more. You can see that I'm doing that now. It felt like there was just so much white, like the white was a little too thick. And so I do go ahead on multiple photos and cut those down some. And even on that one from that iPhone, I think I wrote something like, "Hello iPhone, you may or may not be mine," and I just did the "Hello iPhone." So also, one thing that I wanted to share is that squad goals. That seems to be kind of random because I don't use the wood in any other piece of this layout. But when my daughter saw them sitting on my desk, she's like, "You have to use these on the photo of me and my friends." So that's why I decided to use that. I didn't know that squad goals was a thing, but I'm glad that I do now. So I'm going to go ahead and you can see that I figured out the title page that I wanted to use, and then I'm just putting on my date. Sorry, I couldn't figure out what I wanted to say. And instead of just hitting it or just pressing down once, I did multiple times so that I could just get a little bit of this messy look. And I really like the way that looks. I've definitely done that in the past, and I've seen other Project Lifers do that as well. And then I added a little star, big star, that I end up changing some. So now is the big task of putting on all of these wood strips. And I do it, I mess around with it a little bit. I do a few, and then I go on and I do other things, and then I come back to it. And that was part of the process of me trying to figure out, is this too much white? Is this too much? Do I need to adjust it? So that's why you'll see me kind of going back and forth and working on it and then moving on to something else. And I was also trying to decide, does this photo really need a story with it? Sort of a thing. So then I decided here to just add a little star because I wasn't loving the way the words were matching up. So I added a little star to the wood strip. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of, well, okay, I'm moving on to figure out what cards I want to put in that. Those are 4x4s. It's an insert. I believe it is design I. And so I want to have, there's 2 blanks. And so I have spots for 2 pieces of pattern paper. So I'm going ahead and just looking through all of my pattern paper, and I'm definitely picking out the ones that feel like would go really well with a square. And I've always wanted to use those hearts. I've had that sitting around for probably a year. So I'm glad that I'm finally using it. And so I'm just picking out some other cards that I think would go well, that I think I might want to use. And this will obviously give you a chance to see some of the 4x6 page cards that I have. And the majority of these are from Studio Calico that I just have not used yet from, gosh, I would say from as late as 2013 to now. So that's quite a bit of time to hold on to something. But I actually did just recently organize them, and I did weed out a bunch and gave a bunch of those away. Actually, I still need to do that. And like I think I've said before, maybe I'll do that on my YouTube channel and see if some of those, that's something that some of you guys would want. So now I'm just going to cut down these cards. I think I've decided on the cards that I want to use for the insert, and I'm just going to mess around with that. I couldn't figure out where I wanted to cut the best version, because you see how there's rounded corners on one side. So I'm like, should I cut off the rounded corners? And if I do that, is it going to make everything look sort of lopsided? And so in the end, I just decide to keep the rounded corners, and I actually was going to do the rounded corners in the end. And then I just decide, who cares if one side's rounded and one side's not? So I just decided not to worry about it. And it doesn't bother me. Although, to be honest, I don't actually end up using that card. I decide to use this card. Well, actually, I don't end up using this card either, but it's what kind of gave me the idea. I'll definitely be using those 2 cards in the future. But I'm looking through and trying to figure out the story that I want to tell. I want to add a little bit more story to this week. And I figured out there's a story that I want. Well, I guess I didn't quite figure that out yet. See what I mean by I can't decide what I want to do or what I want to say. And so I put it aside and I move on until I can figure that out. So I'm just messing around with the main page and adjusting it. I didn't like the red, and so I decided to go with the yellow because I've added the yellow star. I've got some yellow in the card that's right underneath the title page. That's that little art card. There's some yellow there, so I'm just wanting to kind of highlight those yellow pieces. And now I'm adjusting. I want to use the card that says, check out my hair, look at my hair. But I wasn't loving that one picture of me. Like it just, for some reason, I felt like it wasn't working. So you'll see that I end up moving everything around and trying to figure out how I want it to go. And it's a constant never ending adjustment, right? And that's okay, because you get to where it feels good. And at some point, like I said, I was really tired by the end. So, your brain starts your brain just needs a break. So that's kind of where I was when it comes to my indecision. So you'll see that I will end up moving this around quite a bit more. Now, the adhesive that I'm using is this scrapbook adhesive, and it's actually not ideal adhesive to be using with the wood or with anything. I don't love it. I have a bunch of it, so I'm using it now. And the other adhesive that I had, I can't remember what it was called. I know it was by Tombow, and I loved it, but I dropped it and it broke. So I need to buy another one, and I just haven't done it. So I need to do that, because every time I want to add wood or add any other kind of embellishment, it drives me crazy that I don't have the right adhesive that I want. And, I remember I loved it because you could add it right to it, and it only sticks to what you want it to stick to. And so you never had to worry about your adhesive showing. So I really love that about it, which made it really easy when you're putting on wood letters. So I'm just going ahead and just putting everything in place and doing all the little bits and pieces that I've sort of put off to the end. You can see that I added that yellow star to that card. Now, the one thing that, so that Post-it note that I keep moving around, I didn't have a photo, but I decided that I wanted to do our schedule. So I don't know if I've shown this in a video or not before, but what I end up doing, and I will show you at the very, very end what it looks like, because I don't actually get it in the video, but I will just do a screenshot of my schedule on my phone or on my iPad, and then I'll print that off, and then I'll add it right to the spread. And I love it because it has my schedule, it has this kid's schedule, it has a little bit about what's going on with Adam. So I enjoy being able to see the week in a glance, especially because there are many things like my daughter's dance or my daughter's cheerleading, things that stay the exact same every week. So I love being able to see what our fall schedule looks like, because it changes a little bit in the fall and it changes a little bit in the winter. So I like to do that in the fall and in the winter, just to kind of give an overview of what, kind of what our life is like. So the reason why I'm moving these texts is because I realized that I put it on the wrong photo. It could have gone on that photo, but I really wanted it to be, I thought it told the story better on that photo with Lola. So I ended up moving it off, and I can't remember if I add anything to that photo in the bottom. Oh, I did. I found the right text that went with it. But did I put it in? I can't even remember. Like I said, I was still at that point trying to decide if it was too much writing. I don't know that I would do this again. It was actually a lot of work. And in the end, when I thought that it was going to save me all this time, I should have just stuck it right on the photo. I don't know why I thought that it would be so much easier. So at this point, this is where I realize, I figured out the story that I want to tell, but I also noticed that the part that I cut off from this card was really great. It says things like awesome and wonderful and need a do-over. And so I thought that I could use it instead of just scrapping it and throwing it away, that it would be a really good embellishment. So I went ahead and wrote in some journaling from the week, and I think I check the awesome, and I just obviously needed to make sure that I was putting it on the right side, because instead of getting a blank white card, I just decided to pull out the card that was there and to write right on the back of it, which was awesome because then I didn't have to use another card. So if you have that availability, definitely do it. It saves a lot of time. So I'm just finishing up my journaling. Normally I cut this out, but you can see, I don't feel like you probably want to watch me do it all, but there you go. You watched me type it or write it all out. Speaking of writing things out, I have not always, in 2013 and most of 14, I only used my computer to do my journaling, and just to make things easy and just to simplify things, I started using my handwriting. And at first it was really hard for me. I remember there was a couple layouts in 2013 where I did it at the beginning, and I actually went back and redid it because I didn't love it, which I think is so funny that I went and spent the time to redo it. But I actually really do love the look of it. And I love the fact that my children will be able to see my handwriting. So I figured out the journaling that I wanted to do for that card, but when I went to put on the smaller stickers, I didn't love it as much. And I realized, you know what, this BFE needs to be big. And the BFE stands for Best Fall Ever. And it's something that my husband declared a few weeks ago, that this fall was going to be the best fall ever. And he kept saying BFE. So it's definitely a story that I wanted to tell. And I wanted that type to be big and bold. So that's why I didn't end up using that other this card. And that's something that I will definitely use in something coming up. Okay, you guys, so this is the layout for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're able to find some inspiration. And this is a look at what the layout looks like right now. And that is the 4x6 schedule that I put in there. And above it, you will also see that I changed that card. To know more about that, you need to watch week 38, which will be coming up soon. Okay, you guys, I hope you like what you saw. We will catch you next time. Bye.